And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 5, episode 20. And as long as the Illinois Wesleyan women are winning big ball games, we're going to keep trotting out members of this team onto the QCast to talk about games. And what a game yesterday in St. Louis as the Titans knock off previous number 11 WashU 67-59 at WashU Fieldhouse. Really lucky to have Ava Bardic with me on the QCast, the 5'6" junior guard from Lincolnshire, Illinois, the pride of Stevenson High School. Ava, I feel like you kind of had to rush around to get to the QCast today. Tell me what was going on campus today. Are you in a good spot? And how the heck are you doing?
Yeah, today was actually kind of an easy day. I had two classes and I was actually just getting dinner when a little while ago. But I haven't had much going on. I did the Titan table talk today with Lauren
Wow.
and yeah, other than that, it's been a pretty easy day. We had no practice today, so that was kind of nice, and it's just been a nice break because we had those two games were pretty tough and we were running around. So it was a nice little off day.
A lot of podcasting today. The Titan Table Talk and now the QCast. Hopefully you didn't use all your best stuff for Titan Table Talk because we gotta get into some things, Ava. Um, let's talk about this crazy WashU game because there's some wins that are big and then there's some wins that are really big. And
Yeah.
you guys have had two really big ones in the last week with Whitewater. They were ranked 4 and now WashU. Um, let's just as you evaluate the game, as you're driving home last night on the bus, what were the immediate thoughts after that huge win over WashU?
Um, Immediately it was more of a sense of relief. I think that that game was very intense and as a player, I don't really get usually that nervous during the game, but there were moments during that game where I was just like, "Oh my gosh, like we really need to step it up and kind of get ourselves together because we and there were some moments where we weren't playing like ourselves, especially in the first half. Um, but at the end of the day, like while I'm on on the bus, I'm pretty much just thanking the coaches and thanking the adjustments that we made in the second half because changing our defense really changed the game for us yesterday, I think.
So let's walk through that, and I'm interested to hear what the defensive change was. And I'm glad to hear that you were nervous because I was very nervous on my couch. I mean,
I think most people watching were nervous.
yeah, like the first, 2 quarters, basically, first quarter and a half. I'll say the first quarter and a half. I'm like, oh geez, like we cannot guard that big girl. We can't guard
Mhm.
her. And every time they get it into a half court set, like
They
it's a
scored.
basket for them down low.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, we're not really making many shots. And I was nervous. So I'm glad you're nervous. What was going on in the first quarter and a half? Was it offensively? It is what it is. I just think we were not making normal shots that we make. But
Yeah.
I was like, we can't stop them. So talk about that side of the ball in the first quarter and a half.
Yeah. In the first quarter, I think we had a game plan, and I think that we kind of just we're almost surprised. Like we got out there and we were like, whoa, like this is going to be a really tough game. And we knew that they were going to be a tough game. We knew that they had really good players and a really good coach. Like we already knew. But I think that we were like ambushed a little bit. We were a little bit surprised. They came at us really hard. They really wanted to beat us. So I think that we obviously had a good game plan. We always prep for a really long time, but I don't think we played exactly like us in the first quarter and a half. Our R&J wasn't as solid as we would have liked it to have been. And our half court defense wasn't exactly as we planned. We kind of wanted to send more doubles to the post players when they got into the lane. And we that didn't really happen in the first quarter. But I think that especially after halftime, we really talked about changing our R&J, getting like trapping like more immediately, and I think that that was like a big change, and that was probably the change that we made. And like gambling to passes more, that's more like us, and we didn't do that in the first quarter. We made that adjustment. So
And so at the end of the first half, I thought what was big was that you cut it to 6, I believe, because there was a
Mhm.
period of time where it was 10, And I'm like, oh crap, this is going to be like 16, and that's going to be hard to come back from 16. But you got it to
Yeah.
6. And I remember thinking, okay, like we're down 6. And I think we've just played as bad as we can play. That's what I was thinking at the half. I'm like, I feel good about this. So R and J, for those new to the QCast, that stands for run and jump. This is this crazy defense the Titans play where they are just all over the place. So what you're saying, Ava, is that like instead of trapping after say 2 passes, you were just kind of trapping more immediately. Was that the change in the locker room to the run and jump?
So it was more like they're taking too long to get up the court. They're being able to see everything more easier. And so it was kind of just like swarm them and play us, play fast, do what we always do. Don't change what we do. And we played more. I think the whole adjustment was just like play more like we know how to play. Don't adjust to them, adjust to us. And it was kind of just swarm and gamble, get those steals, get those tips, and that's what we do best. Especially like if you look at Sawyer's stats, like she had a bunch of steals, and that's her thing. So when we do that R&J and she gets those tips and gets those steals, like that's how we get going, and that was a big change for us, I think.
And that's what I think is cool about the team. And I talked a little about this with Kate the other day after the Whitewater game, but it seems like you guys can switch out personnel depending on what game you're playing or even within the game what the situation is, because yesterday was clearly like a Sawyer White kind of game. Like she had to be
Mhm.
on the floor based on what you guys were trying to accomplish on defense. And
Yeah.
and with that adjustment, I thought that that word you use, swarm. Let's just talk a little bit about what happened there. You forced 8 turnovers in the first half. In the
Mhm.
second, you forced 15. So you turned WashU over 23 times. This is an elite Division 3 team that you turned over 23 times. And could you guys feel as you started creating turnovers, Ava, could you feel the momentum slowly starting to turn during that period of time where they were having such trouble taking care of the ball?
Yeah, I think coach always says that our offense comes from our defense, and I think we all firmly believe that. Once we start getting those steals and getting all those like tips and all of that sort of thing, that really just pushes us in the right direction offensively. And I think we get more excited on defense than we even do on offense. Like once we get one of those crazy steals, like it's immediately like we need to score. That's even in practice, like we'll be doing our R&J when we get a steal we always prioritize not only the steal but getting a bucket out of it. And I think that translated really, really well.
It sure did. And you mentioned kind of being nervous in the early part of the game, as was I sitting on my couch. Now I'm going to tell you another time I was nervous, and you helped me out on this. Is we had like an 11-point lead, 10-11. It seemed like it was over at that point to me, but all of a sudden that thing's down to 3 with 4:10 left. It's down to 3, and I'm like, oh my god, if we miss this, they come down, they tie the game. There's 3:50 left, but at 4:10, you're over there on the right wing, right in front of your bench, and I think Mallory kind of sets a little screen for you. The defender goes behind it, below it, and you just take like a little step back and fire that thing up, and 56-53 turned into 59-53. And that's when I felt the game was over. Like in that moment, when you have the ball on the right wing like that, what are you thinking, and kind of that time, that score, and what your role is at that point?
Well, Mallory was actually yelling at me to shoot it. And behind me, I could clearly hear Coach Smith yelling at me to shoot it. So I felt like I kind of had to get it up there, and it was open, and it was the right shot. And I mean, I give props to my teammates for telling me to shoot the ball, even though I haven't, the past few games, I haven't really shot it that well, but um, they always encouraged me to shoot it. So, I mean, I felt confident in it, and it did look good. So, I mean, yeah, it made me feel good, and that all my teammates were wanting me to shoot that ball.
It was in rhythm. It seems like when you get that thing in rhythm, that you got kind of like a little flick shot. It's just no, 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 boom, good. And I mean, it looked from my couch. all these miles away, Ava. I thought the thing was going in, and it was
Oh, I'm
beautiful.
glad.
Yeah, and so up six felt good to me. You go on, you close this thing out. New poll comes out today, and the Illinois Wesleyan Titans are ranked number 4. The men are ranked number 5. I believe we have to be the only school in America
Got
that has
have
the
to.
men and women in the top 5. I mean, I'll have to I'll have to look at it one more time, but I don't think there's anyone in that position.
I don't think
What does
so
it feel
either.
to be like number 4, Ava? That's a pretty lofty ranking. What does that feel like?
I mean, that's been the goal since the first day we got on campus. Our captains held a meeting and the the season was set. Like we knew that this is what we needed to do, and clearly we're only 6 games in, but um, I think we're going in the right direction, and I think that that number means a lot. It doesn't really change much for us right now, but
Right.
it definitely gives us a little boost of confidence, and I think it's nice to have because we know we've been working really, really hard. I just think that our older players on our team have really set the expectation, and it's been set. Like everybody knows that we're going to be moving in the right direction, and if we step back, then we'll step back forward. So I'm really, really proud of us, and I'm proud of that number. I would
It,
love it to be higher in the top three even, but I'm very proud of that number.
yeah, it goes NYU, the defending champs. They're undefeated and they're really good. NYU, Wartburg, who you played last year, Scranton, Illinois Wesleyan, and Wisconsin Oshkosh. That's quite a feat to be number 4. And like you said, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, the d3hoops.com poll doesn't mean anything, but yet it kind of does, right? That's a big deal. You've put in all this work. You guys have assembled this team. Here you are, like a group of voters vote you number 4. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
Um, looking forward a little bit here, you've got Wednesday, the opening of CCIW play, right? You've got at North Park, while the men are home against Carthage. So just first things first. I mean, I know all the attention right now goes to North Park. What do we know about the way that the Vikings play? What are you looking forward to on Wednesday? They're up in the Cracker Box, as they call it.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of those gyms where it's a little tough. We have a tough time playing in there, but I mean, just doing us. Not looking forward to any games. I know we have a huge game against Carroll on Saturday, but this is where our heads are at. We haven't even looked at anything about Carroll. So, we're just gonna play us, do what we do, and not look past anybody. We never look past anyone, so we want to get this win, get it done, and it's a little business trip. So, we'll get it done. It'll be
Yeah,
good. And
big
yeah,
game one at a time mode, right? Is that losing the game at North Park would be a killer, so you can't afford to look past them.
definitely.
And then you got I think that's a men women double header
Yes.
Saturday, correct? So that's a double
Yes.
header Saturday up there in Waukesha. You guys play at 2 p.m. with the men after. So you got a lot of great stuff coming up. I wanted to talk a little bit more about kind of the depth of this team, because what's really cool, Ava, about watching you guys play is you never know from game to game like who the person's going to be or the people are going to be. So you might have a game where it's a Sara Kate game. It seems like Lauren's always in the middle of it. And then you might have a game
Yes.
that's kind of more of an Ava Sawyer game, and then just everyone that gets on the floor contributes. What's it like to be part of a team like that, where like you're the leading scorer now by a decimal point at 16-3, but you could have an off night and we could still be okay? Like, what's it like playing
Yeah.
on that kind of team?
It's amazing. Playing with these girls has been a blessing. Like having Lauren on the team is just having somebody is going to give it everything they got every time. And I mean, she's an amazing player. And then you have Mal and you have Kate and Sarah and Sawyer and Katie. Like you can keep going. Like if you have an off night, we will be fine. You just need to do your job on defense. If your shots aren't going in, I 100% believe that my teammates' shots will be going in. It's it takes a lot of pressure off of you because you know that you don't need to be going out there and scoring 30 points a game. You can score 10 and everybody else can score 10. Like everybody on the bench is fully capable of scoring. And I love that like Sara and Laura and all of them have stepped up and really taken that role because seeing them out there and seeing them knock down those shots is just this is great. Like we don't need one person to score 30 points because everybody can hold their own. And it's just great to
Yeah.
be on a team like that.
Yeah, they're like Sara hit one of the biggest shots of the game. I felt like when we were making the run and starting to take control or starting to get it tied, she was just standing at the top of the key and people were passing the ball around. And she's just like, hey, at some point you're going to pass it to me. Finally, someone did. And she just caught it, shot it, made it.
Yep.
Laura comes in. We got to talk about this girl, Laura. I mean, sometimes people come like reserves come in a game and they need a few trips down the floor to get like she just comes in like ready to roll, doesn't she? Like I've
Let
never
it fly.
she comes in like firing and getting in the mix. And what's the deal with that, Laura? Ava, talk about her a
I
little bit.
mean, I've played against Laura for a very long time, and she is always ready to go. Like this girl will come out and she will be against a post player that's bigger than her, and she will be pushing them and pushing them and pushing them, and then she'll go down the floor and shoot a three from 3 feet behind the line and knock it down. Like it is, she's always in the right mode, like always in the right mode, always. She always has been in high school, now in practice, everything. She even if she sits on the bench for a little while, she'll come in and just be ready to roll. And a lot of people aren't like that. I don't think I'm like that. I need a little while to get in the swing of the game. But she's great. She can knock down a shot after being cold, and that is talent.
Yeah, I mean, she comes off the bench and it's just like game on. And I just
Yeah,
absolutely love it. And she did that yesterday. She had some big plays on both ends of the floor. Just shifting gears a little bit, a few more topics for you. You have unique perspective having started at a Division II school, right? You went to Illinois Springfield out of high school. You transferred to Illinois Wesleyan. So you've seen D2, you've seen D3, and you were a really good D2 player, right? You were on the GLVC all freshman team. You made 42 threes as a freshman. So you were a good D2 player. You transfer here. Talk a little bit about difference in levels. Is there a difference? What have you noticed? What do you like about D3 or D2? Or just give us a little context there.
yeah. I think when you're a high school kid, you think it's just such a big difference from D3, D2, and D1, and I'm like grateful to have been able to see that difference. I personally don't think it's very different at all. And I actually think that there's more grit when it comes to the girls that play Division 3 because there's no money involved. So it's you're playing because you want to be out there and you want to do the job and you're not really getting anything out of it. Like this is because you love to play basketball.
Right.
And so I don't think there's a very big difference at all. I mean, I think that at Division 3 people want it and you don't want the money out of it. If you did, you would go Division 2 or you would try to be Division 1. But this is just because of the desire to win and desire to be on a team. And I think even us playing like ISU in Eastern Illinois, like that shows even more that like one of the t we're the fourth team in the nation for Division 3, but we're hanging with Division 1 teams. Like I don't think in my mind it's not that different. I obviously think those girls are amazing and the Division 1 and Division 2 girls
Sure.
are great, but um I don't think the jump is that big.
Well, and take it one more level too. You mentioned Division 1. So today, the Missouri Valley Conference awarded Elise Knudsen the MVC Newcomer of the Week award. So I don't know what her stat line was, but she must have had a really big week for the Redbirds. So
Mhm.
Elise Knudsen, someone that you played against, and obviously played against Illinois Wesleyan for 4 years. She's going to Illinois State for her fifth year, a grad year, and is I think she's starting and she's playing great.
Yeah.
So like I guess does that show us, Ava, that there's all kinds of D3 hoopers that if given the right opportunity could play well at pretty much every level.
I,
Is that fair to
I
say?
mean, yeah. I think a lot of the great Division 3 hoopers have been overlooked. And I think that a lot, I mean, not everybody gets recruited by Division 1 schools. And I think a lot of the girls on our team could be playing Division 1 basketball.
Sure.
And I think it comes down to being overlooked or getting better while you're in college. And I think Elise is a perfect example of that. She played Division 3 for 4 years and she was a killer. She
Oh
dominated.
yeah.
And I think that even when she got to the Division 1 level, she is still killing it, and it's amazing to see, and it's great for Division 3 women's basketball that she's doing what she's doing, and I think that that is like eye-opening for people because most people don't see that, and most people don't believe that, and I think that she's a great example of that.
Take that one step farther a little bit to high school recruiting, because this is the time of year, and you can think back to when you were going through this. So right now, Coach Brian and Maya are out there on the recruiting trail, and the whole staff. They're seeing girls play, and it's really getting to like the nitty gritty time as we start to like December, January. Then we get to February, things really heat up with recruiting. People are having to
Mhm.
make decisions, and they're getting recruited by different levels. Maybe someone like you is getting recruited by D2s and the top of D3. What advice would you give to girls going through this process right now and having to figure out like what's the right level for them and what the right fit is? Are there any certain tips? Not trying to say like, hey, let's steer them to Illinois Wesleyan, but what tips
Yeah.
would you give them for kind of navigating this crazy process?
Yeah. So the thing that my mom always told me one thing during recruiting, and it was, if you quit basketball, would you still want to go to school where you are going to school? And I think that that is one of the biggest things that I've always put in my mind when I was getting recruited. It was, if I wasn't here for basketball, would I still fit in? Would I still want to be here? And I think that that's probably the biggest thing when you're getting recruited. It's don't if you're getting recruited by a Division 1 or a Division 2 school, don't base your commitment off of the scholarships that they're giving you. I would base it off of if you're going to be happy because I can say that that matters more. And if you're not happy, you're not going to want to be there at all, and you're probably not going to want to play. So I would say pick a place that feels like home, even if basketball wasn't there.
It's very well said. And there was saw a tweet earlier today, just like 2 hours ago, that was like literally almost the same thing. And so it's so cool to hear you say that. Can't remember if it was D3 Direct or D3 Bubble, or somebody said, like if you broke your leg and you were done playing basketball, would you like to be at the school? And it's exactly what you
Mhm.
said, which is so cool. Um, as we look forward here, we talked about we're getting into CCIW play. I know you guys have that fun trip to San Antonio that's going to be great. Um, what's what's the vision here, Ava? I mean, to me, I keep using the word special season, and the more wins like last night, the more I'm just going to keep saying like this is a special season unfolding. Uh, what's the goal here? I mean, I know you look at like the CCIW title first, and in the back of your mind, though, is there that NCAA tournament in your
Yeah.
head of like what can we do there?
I mean, yeah. And I think we're a little last year was tough. We had a really good team, but I think that that loss really fueled us. And I think that obviously the CCIW championship is first, and we want to win that more than anything because we did not win that last year. But yeah, it's hard not to look at the NCAAs and be like, wow, we really, really want to win it this year, or just go as deep as we can. But we do think about that. But as I said, we're trying to take it game by game because I think if you don't, then you're gonna get lost and you might lose. And we don't want to lose to anybody in the conference, or let alone anybody at all. So we're trying not to look ahead, but it's tough because that is an amazing place to be, and that would be really, really cool. But yeah.
And last year was a good example of how like every game matters, because you lose that CCIW conference tournament title game to Carroll at home,
Yep.
and had you won that, you're almost certainly hosting the first round. Instead, there's
Mhm.
that little fine line of the seeding. You get sent on the road to a really, really tough matchup, right? Like
Yeah.
Wartburg was good. They had a great player, tough place to play. And so I guess, I mean, it seems like it's a one, I hate to say it, it's like a one game at a time thing, because if you trip up, let's say you lose at North Park Wednesday, that's a really damaging kind of loss. The
Mhm.
way the Division 3 thing works is like every game matters.
Yeah. That's we got to take it game by game because if we were to lose to a team that wasn't ranked as high as us, let alone ranked at all, I mean, it would be damaging and it would hurt us, especially because if we were to have another loss in conference, two losses would drop us low. And I think that we have to take it game by game, or else we're just going to get lost and we're going to forget that we have smaller goals before our big goal.
Just start to wrap up here, and I'll ask you for your final thoughts. But I was looking at the stats, and like I said, by a point or so, now you're the leading scorer: 16.3 points a game, 2.7 rebounds a game, 3.0 assists per game, 3.2 steals per game. What a stat line that is. Um, I know you're not looking at individual stats, but on a team that's this deep, it does have to feel good, right? Like we talked about this earlier, that you don't have to feel like you have to score 16 points every game. You could score 4 points in a
Mhm.
game. We could be just fine. It's pretty cool playing on a team this deep, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I credit my teammates because most of my points do come from like inside out passes, and that's where my threes come from. So I wouldn't have oh, more than half of those points if it weren't for my teammates passing me the ball. So I really credit them and the assist for my teammates making those shots. So um, it's just great. And like if I score 4 points and anybody else scores a bunch, like if my points per game drops, I truly, truly do not care. I want to win games. If we, I think everybody on the team feels the same way. It's just great knowing that we have a team that we have so many people that can hold their own. And I don't think
Yeah,
I've been on a team like that for a really long time. And I'm really, really grateful that our coaches brought all these people together because it's nice to not have that pressure every game.
it's a team that, just from an outsider's perspective, you guys love playing together. You have incredible chemistry on the floor. I'm guessing that extends off the floor, because
Oh,
just the way
absolutely.
you play, you're rooting for each other. It just you that just jumps off the screen. When I'm watching these games from 900 miles away, I can tell how much you guys like to play together. You're passing the ball really well too. I think I've probably had 3 or 4 things lately where I'm putting a video out there that says like Bardic to Huber, Bardic to Huber. And so you're really passing it well. And
Thank you.
so yeah, fun times. Ava, maybe could you get me Sawyer White's autograph at some point?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely, I could.
at some point before the season's over, if you could like get me her autograph, that'd be awesome. I think everyone knows I like watching Sawyer play.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh, I mean, I can't blame you. She's really fun to watch. So
She is. She fly. You talk about flying around. I mean, you don't know where that girl's going sometimes. She's just
yeah,
up and down the
it
floor.
is.
It's like, geez, slow down.
Yeah,
But
Coach always says it's a nightmare when Sawyer is guarding you, and I can vouch for the fact that it is a nightmare.
she's a riot to watch. Well, Ava Bardic, I'll tell you this, is you've been fantastic. I knew the first time I saw you play, which was at the Illinois State game last year.
Mhm.
2 minutes into the game, I turned to the guy next to me and I said, she's going to be really good. And I'm toot my own horn. I'm proud of myself because I identified that you were going to be a superstar,
Thank you.
and you've turned out to be a superstar.
Thank you.
So keep passing it well, keep rebounding, keeps whatever the swarm thing is. Let's keep doing the swarm thing. And I'm going to leave you, Ava, with the final thoughts here for Titan Nation tuning in, D3 Nation, Stevenson High School Nation. I know is going to watch this thing. I know
Oh
that
yeah.
your family's going to watch this. You have to close us out, Ava. What would you say in
Oh
conclusion
gosh.
here?
In conclusion, I would say keep watching the Titans, whether it be us or the men. We are killing it. I love watching our guys play too. So keep watching us and support D3 basketball.
I like it. That is the perfect way to close this out. It's like a little YD3 close, Ava Bardic. Folks, that's QCast season 5, episode 20. The Illinois Wesleyan women's basketball team is 6-0. They're ranked number 4 in the poll that just came out, and they are playing a game on the north side of Chicago at Foster and Kedzie this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Ava, it's a pleasure to watch you play, and I look forward to watching you play a whole bunch more games this year.
Thank you. Thank you.